Hi, I'm Taryn and welcome to the Most Fashionable Crime YouTube channel. Most Fashionable Crime is a fashion-related true crime podcast. The first season's theme is thievery, and I am covering 10 stories about some of the best stories about fashion items being stolen. In this 6th episode, I am talking about Tom Brady's stolen jersey. Super Bowl 51, which occurred on Sunday, February 5th, 2017. This was a Super Bowl that honestly will be talked about for forever because the Atlanta Falcons blew a 28-3 lead, and the New England Patriots, with a lot of help from Tom Brady, came back and won the Super Bowl in overtime. So some call it one of the greatest Super Bowls ever, one of the great sporting events. It was huge, and all of the memorabilia, pretty much from this Patriots standpoint, was deemed to be super valuable. So the jersey that Tom Brady wore, there were 2 jerseys I believe he wore over the course of the game, but the second one that he wore ended up going missing. So this is an interesting story because as I was researching and learning more about this, because I don't think I was super aware of it, I think I saw some memes about it around that time, but I wasn't really sure as to what was going on. But I know there's like this clip of Tom Brady, he's saying like, I definitely had it, I put it in my bag. But that was kind of interesting to me because there's another video where they show him taking off the jersey to then put on the championship t-shirt, and he hands it to someone, and then it's thought that that man went and put it into the bag. So I don't know if once he got back to the locker room, like he might have like put it in the bag. Maybe the guy that took the jersey, I'm not sure, I can't remember what his role was, but maybe he like put it in like his locker, and then maybe Tom put it into the bag. So either way, Tom was for certain that the jersey was in his black carry-all travel bag. It looked really nice actually. It's like black leather with like a really nice gold zipper. But furthermore, this case is really interesting to me because the FBI got involved, and I learned that the FBI got involved because the jersey ended up being in Mexico. So if you haven't listened to the podcast, listen to the podcast for all the background information on this case. In this video, I'm going to kind of touch on some points that I found super interesting while learning more about this case. Basically, this case was solved by a tipster named Dylan Wagner. He was 19 years old at the time, and he is a sports memorabilia collector, and he is also a lifelong New England Patriots fan. In addition to solving a crime, Dylan Wagner also has some pretty nice eyebrows. So he was in communications with this man named Martin Mauricio Ortega, and he also is, I think he buys and sells sports memorabilia. His eBay account dates back to 2002. Ortega had been buying and selling sports memorabilia since 1996, so he was definitely deep into this game. Martin Mauricio Ortega is the one that actually stole the jersey. So he's a director at a Mexican newspaper, and essentially he used that status to become a credentialed media member to attend Super Bowls and other games of that nature. He is super into American football, despite Mexico's favorite pastime being soccer or football. But he's really into American football, and his favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys. So he has a lot of sports memorabilia from American football teams. They had a list of basically 20,000 people that were credentialed. So vendors, media, security were on it. But I'm wondering if that means like family, friends, that kind of thing, because they definitely, in one of the articles I read, like highlighted those 3 categories. But I'm like, 20,000 people is a lot. Like, but I've never been to the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know. Ortega sneaks in with Bill Belichick and his posse. He's like on the last, like on the very back of that group. There's a video of him like kind of sneaking in there, and the door just closes and nobody really notices. But there's no video evidence of him actually taking it. Like, we don't physically see him go into the bag, which is such a crummy thing to do, and steal the jersey. But we do see him exit the locker room about 14 minutes after he entered. One thing that I found interesting about this is there is a lot of fraud when it comes to sports memorabilia. So I learned from reading this that there is another sports collector, and if they wanted to like buy and sell, they would like fly the merchandise the items to the person and then exchange it. So I was like, this is really important and serious. What I thought was interesting, that tech is getting involved into making sure there are no fraudulent or I guess stolen items when it comes to sports memorabilia and collecting them. Emmitt Smith, that played for the Cowboys, learned that there were collectible items that had his forged signature on them. So he started a tech company called Prova that can help authenticate memorabilia. So going off of Sports Illustrated, this website, it says it's a third-party authentication service that the NFL has used since the 90s. Smith's technology uses stamp-sized smart chips embedded in items. And if you use a smartphone app, the chips are updated to track when the item was worn, guarding against fake game use items. It can also flag an item as stolen. According to this article, the Cowboys actually used this technology in their jerseys, I guess the 2015 season. So that is so fascinating to me. And not only did Ortega take this jersey, apparently he took a Super Bowl 49 jersey that was Tom Brady's. He also took Von Miller's Super Bowl 50 helmet from the locker room as well. So I'm honestly like so puzzled how this random dude, like, I don't know if it's just, he just blends in, like he looks like a regular dude, which is what I think is the case. There was an article that mentioned that he just blended in, and he's a white Hispanic man. He looks like he could be a part of anyone's entourage as like an agent, a PR person or something. And they said that's really how he dressed. Like he wore a dark colored suit, I guess different from other media where I think they kind of wear things to stand out. And he also wore a really long tie so that it covered what clearance level he was at on his credential tag. He was really into it. Like he was stealing, and apparently he was good at it, because apparently when it came to Tom Brady's first jersey got stolen, he didn't reveal that the Ford Super Bowl 49 jersey got stolen until the Super Bowl 51 jersey got stolen. So I was really curious about that, because I wondered, like, I hope nobody got fired for it, because I don't know if it's like an equipment manager job. You know, I just like, I'm always like, I hope nobody got fired for that jersey being missing. Or I wonder if it was just like, oh, we just don't know what happened to it. Because I'm sure like if it's missing, unless it accidentally got thrown away, which I don't see happening, I'm sure they thought someone might have stole it within, you know, their own team or within their own company. This case was taken very seriously. The Houston Police Department got involved. The FBI got involved. The Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick at the time wanted the Texas Rangers to get involved, and then they all communed in Mexico City at the U.S. Embassy, along with NFL security, which I didn't even know was a thing, but it makes sense, to kind of get this jersey back. And it's like such a trivial case. And if you look at what was happening in the world, especially in Mexico at the time, I know that I read some articles because 45 had assumed office like close to this time. A lot of people in Mexico, they were like, I really hope, you know, this doesn't mess up relations, and they were concerned about that. And you know, at the time, like, it was interesting because in the same Sports Illustrated article, it's a really good article. I recommend reading it. After the case was solved, thanks to Dylan Wagner, the Mexican Attorney General made a visit to Washington, D.C. to meet with his counterpart in the United States. And basically, Jeff Sessions thanked the Mexican Attorney General for their work on capturing El Chapo and locating Tom Brady's stolen jerseys. Those things are not equal at all. Like, I just thought that was so interesting because I feel like if you listen to a lot of true crime or watch a lot of true crime, you know that the FBI gets involved into cases that like just go unsolved. So I'm curious as to what this budget looks like and how much money like was spent on locating these jerseys. And it seems like if a random dude on the internet that collects sports memorabilia was able to be like, yeah, this is it, I feel like there was an easier way to solve the case, to be honest. There had to have been an easier way, but like I mentioned at the end of the podcast, like I would mention this because at the time, like Mexico City, so in the Sports Illustrated article, I don't really like to mention gruesome details during the time of the Super Bowl and the time after. So while Mexican authorities, Houston, FBI is investigating these stolen jerseys, there are dozens of dead people popping up around this area in Mexico. So it's just interesting that this, I'm not saying that the jerseys took priority because I don't know how they prioritized, but it's just interesting looking back on this and seeing what was going on at the time and how these jerseys, these articles of clothing were such a big deal. And I, you know, like given the circumstance and that timing, I could see like why. I don't want to say like the US said jump and they said how high, but given that time, I feel like relations were especially rocky given the circumstances. So I can see like why I feel like I would think that Mexico felt like their hands were tied when it came to this case. Because it mentions in the article, like had Tom Brady, had the NFL wanted Mauricio Ortega charged, he would have been charged. I hope it doesn't come across that I'm just like describing Mexico as like this horrible place, because that's really not what I'm trying to do. So I just want to throw that out there just in case it comes across wrong in this video. Tom Brady gets both of his jerseys back and Von Miller gets his helmet back, and who knows, because I would think Ortega might not be the only one that's stealing items. Could be some inside jobs going on. But this actually wasn't the last time that Tom Brady got a jersey stolen. So the sports world is very interesting. And if you're wondering how this story relates to fashion, jerseys are definitely fashion statements. You've seen basketball jerseys popularized in like the early 2000s, seen on Mariah Carey. On game days, it's a fashion statement. You're repping your favorite player or just your favorite team. So it's a statement. Like, I like sports. This is my favorite player. This is who I want to win. They're communicating that through a jersey. So fashion, there it is. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to listen to the podcast and subscribe and download wherever you listen. Sign up for the newsletter on www.mostfashionablecrime.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just thank you so much for supporting this. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.